Hello, I'm Richard Thompson, pastor of Central Presbyterian Church, and your host for today's Austin Faith Dialogue. Newcomers to Austin soon learn that lighting up the tower at the University of Texas in orange is a custom when one of its teams wins. And among the athletic activities on campus, the Lady Longhorns have caused that light to shine with regularity. It's not just that the women's basketball team has been an annual contender in the sport and that it's brought home national championships. Rather, it's the teamwork which has been evident each year that's been a model of cooperation and good sportsmanship beyond the confines of the university. The greater Austin area has taken the Lady Longhorns to its heart, as the unstinting intensity of their effort and excellence of performance has helped generate community spirit. Another builder of community spirit, the Austin Area Conference of Churches, is proud to welcome to this public affairs series those who have contributed to the cultivation of these cooperative values. Coach Jody Conrad is well known as the one who brings together the people, both those on and off the court, and inspires their common effort. With her is Fran Harris, a former Lady Longhorn and now an assistant coach. We welcome you both.
Thank you very much.
And Jody, I know that as a person who has brought a great deal of pleasure and inspiration to the Austin community, that people would be interested to know, for instance, were you from Austin originally?
I'm a native Texan. I'm from a small town in central Texas called Gothwaite. You have to have a list to say it.
I see.
And I've spent my whole life in Texas. I went to Baylor University and then moved to Texas and Austin midway through my career. I'm starting my 13th year here, and that seems hard to believe because time has really flown, and you talked about the good time the community of Austin's had with the Lady Longhorns. I've had an even better time.
I see. You've enjoyed it right along with them, huh?
No question.
And Fran, you are a graduate of UT in what year?
1987.
And I understand that you were on the team at that time and were on the championship team. What year was that?
Well, my final year was 1986, and that was the year that we won a national championship. I had about 2 more semesters to complete my graduate work, and then I went on to graduate in 1987.
And you've come back to work with Jody and the program.
Right. I'll be serving as graduate assistant coach, and I'm really excited about my new role, and I think it'll have a different twist from a player's perspective, and I'm really just eager to get onto the court on October 15th.
Okay. Well, we'd like to have opportunity throughout the course of the program to be on the court in terms of some of the reruns of last season. And one of the things that I know you have shared with me, Jody, is probably a linchpin in your philosophy is this matter of teamwork. And could you share with us just for a moment about how this philosophy works in some practical ways?
I'll be happy to do that because teamwork is something that I'm always interested in, and it's something that I like to talk about because I think it is the real thrill that one finds in maybe suppressing individual goals and individual ego and doing something for the good of the group. And I think that's what teamwork is, basically, a group of people who have a goal more important, bigger than what they might have as individuals. And the Lady Longhorns have been good at doing that. I think they set goals that are realistic. I think they set goals that are common to the group. And then they're very committed to carrying those out. And the second part of that, after the goal is set, obviously, is being able to make the commitment, the sacrifice, and have the intensity to work toward that goal on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I have to admit to you that after coming to Austin and going to my first Lady Longhorns game, intensity was the word that came to me. I've never, either in amateur or professional ball, seen the level of that sustained throughout. And I figured that was no accident.
Well, it makes me very proud that you could pick that out because I think it is something that is important to the success of our team, and it is something that we work at. I think I have enjoyed being associated with some of the most talented players in the country. But I think the thing that sets them apart is their willingness to work, their willingness to be intense and to be focused on their goal. it's not something that happens easily. Most of them come in talented. Most of them have, in some ways, been able to slide by with pure talent. But I think what they learn early on is that they're surrounded by other talented people, and the thing that's going to set them apart is how hard they work. And there's nothing wrong with getting down and working hard. I think that's a very admirable quality and something that all of us can relate to.
Fran, I suspect that you're not that far away from having been on the team that these words seem strange to you now. They have a ring of familiarity.
A slight ring of familiarity. I think one of the most important things that Coach Conrad has said is that there was a willingness on the parts of the players on those teams to get down and work hard and commit themselves to excellence. And that's something that you see on the court, but that's something that's carried on off the court also. I think the players were willing, and I think the players were very dedicated to being their best in the classroom as well as on the court. And that's something that has come from the coaching staff, and it's an enthusiasm that starts from the bench and carries over on the court.
All right, I think that the extent to which, you know, people hear the word teamwork and they associate it with passing the ball to the open person and not hogging the spotlight. But what about the deeper dimension of that? You mentioned, for instance, just letting your own ego take second place to the goal of the team.
Well, I think there are two things that we have to be upfront and open with initially, and there are two qualities that all of us possess, but those two qualities can be very detrimental to a team. One of those is ego, and the other is a feeling of selfishness. If you have those out of whack or out of proportion, then you can't have teamwork. I think the best teams, and maybe the '86 team was the epitome of that, was a team that was able to be comfortable with themselves and to know themselves. Not only know themselves individually, but know their teammates. Respect the differences that each of them had as individuals, and really to combine the strengths of the entire group. I think if we were a team, the three of us, and we had one last chance at a last-second shot to win a national championship, I hope we would decide which of us is going to dribble and which of us is going to shoot. Now, probably Fran's going to get to do it all, but I would hope that the rest of the team would recognize that she is the most able to do those things, and that we would lend whatever our contribution might be to the group. And that's really all a team is, realizing our strengths and our weaknesses, utilizing the strengths, and hiding our weaknesses with each other's strengths.
Okay. And just thinking about when you were active on the court on that '86 team, and you were, as I understand, the most valuable player. And yet, my guess is that the rest of the team members would be rejoicing in the fact that you were able to come through at that particular time and be able to minimize any feeling, well, I should have had that award.
Well, I really don't think any of the team members felt that I was not deserving of the honor. And I honestly believe that we were so committed to the team concept that we were all selfless enough that we could rejoice when someone else was getting the glory. And that's something that made that team very, very special, because being on a team is very self-sacrificial, and you have to accept that the team is more important. And if you can't, then it's a very difficult experience for you, the entire collegiate basketball experience, because there are players who are equally talented or more talented than you are. And if you are not willing to give up that self-recognition, then it will be a very difficult part for you to take.
I'd like to have you also share with our viewers about this relationship between the players off the court. In other words, they're not coming on as just like mechanical shot makers. They're human beings sharing the goal that Jody was speaking about, but they're relating to each other. What's the character of that relationship as you remember it?
The best way I could describe the 1986 team and the teams before that is to say that we were like family. And I think Coach Conrad put it best when she said chemistry is not accidental. It's not something that you turn on and you turn off. It's something that has to be worked for. The relationship that we had with each other on the court and the way we played together on the court was a result of how we were with each other off the court. We did social things with each other. We had pizza at each other's houses. We had Bible studies at each other's houses. we did a lot of recreational activities together. And that enabled us to know each other better and enabled us to communicate with each other in a more efficient manner when we got on the court to play basketball.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that Fran mentioned the religious dimension that at least some of the players shared together, do you encourage this as far as the spirituality of the experience, as it were?
I certainly was pleased and proud that that was a part of that team, and it's something that I think every team can benefit from. But I view my role to carry out the wishes of the team in terms of what they want to have in terms of team rules. That particular team, I remember they came to me and they asked if they could spend some reflective time, and I sort of called it a devotional, for lack of a better term. But it was at their instigation. I used to go into a room and hand them a sheet of paper and say, these are the team rules, live by them or find something else to do. But then I realized that those were my standards and had to do with my commitment, and I could not superimpose that on their standards.
Couldn't lay that on them. Huh?
That's right. So what I tried to help them do is identify what they wanted to gain from the situation, and I hoped that it would be the same thing I wanted them to gain, and most times it was. But once they identified what they wanted to do, then I became the enforcer, the person who kept them pointed in that direction. And I think that kind of relationship is a good relationship, because we all know the greatest pressure in the world is peer pressure. So if they're supported by teammates who have the same values, the same principles, the same goals, then the system is going to work.
Well, I think that you're saying that the teamwork is between coach and players as much as between the players, and between your whole staff and the whole support system that goes into making your operation what it is.
No question. I think everyone has to be committed to the goal, and I think everyone has to have similar goals. And I think there are times when some of us lose sight of our goals, and I depend on my teammates to pick me up and keep me pointed and to keep me focused. And that's how the whole system works. We all have bad days. We all have good days. But because the group is brought together, then we can rely on the strengths of everyone, even when we don't feel very strong ourselves.
I see. That's where you're talking about supplementing one another's strengths
Exactly.
and weaknesses. Hope that we'll have an opportunity for a few more of the filmed highlights from the season that your public relations folks shared with us. And as we might have that brought to our attention, we can make some commentary in terms of both the teamwork and the community building aspect of it.
What you're seeing here is highlights of the season just passed, and we opened up with an exhibition game against the Soviet Union team, which was a real challenge for us. But you'll see some great individual play, and what I hope happens is players use their teammates to make themselves look better, and at the same time make the team look better.
Now, the one thing I know, too, that you've set records in terms of attendance.
I think Austin should be very proud, and I like to talk about that also, because Austin is very unique right now in women's basketball. For the last 3 seasons, we've led the country in average per game attendance. This past season, we averaged almost 8,000 fans a game. Now, that may not seem like a lot to you, but I said I'd been doing this for 13 years, and 13 years ago, if we had 50 people in the stands, it meant somebody's family was in town. So it is significant, and the whole country is looking at Austin, Texas, and the Lady Longhorn program as trendsetters. We've been involved in a lot of exciting moments, and that pleases me, and I think it pleases Fran and all the other players to know that they've had something to do with the growth of women's basketball. That's a pretty nice shot right there by Paulette Magel. You know, we had the 3-point shot last year for the first time, and it added something even more exciting to the game.
And as we think for a moment about the community aspect of the Lady Longhorns, you've got the associate program, I understand, Fran, that is people from the community that come in and give you a variety of support. Can you give us some examples of that?
Right. Well, our Longhorn Associate program are a group of people who have made a financial commitment to support the Lady Longhorns. Not only have they given of their time and their money, but a great deal of effort in coming to the games and making us the record-setting crowd that we are. It's a very special feeling for the players, I know, to play for each other and play for our coaches and play for the team, but it's a tremendous feeling to look in the stands and see thousands of people who really care about the sport and who really care about us as individuals as well as a team.
I felt like I was having a religious experience when I came to my first Lady Longhorns game. I mean, the crowd was instantaneous in its responses. I mean, there was not an indifferent person in the place.
We have a very enlightened crowd in Austin. I think we've educated them about women's basketball. We're still reaching first-time viewers, people who have a preconceived notion of what it's going to be, and they get there and they're surprised and pleased to find that it's a game of intensity, a game that's fast-moving, a game of excitement. And I challenge people to come that first time because I think they will come back. But I want to tell you that since you didn't get to experience Longhorn Associates, that group gets together after every game. Upwards of 700 people come up in the Burnt Orange room, meet with the coaches and the players, and we are an extended family. And I'll even answer questions about why I didn't sub at this point in time, and the players will answer questions from our fans as to what happened in that game. It's a warm atmosphere, an atmosphere of support and love, but it's also one that helps our fans know a lot about the game.
And I think that the other aspect of community building that I understand from what you were sharing with me before the program is that you go into the community and speak. Fran, you've been out doing presentations at schools and churches, and give us some thought about how that works.
Again, I believe that the people of Austin have really contributed to our success as basketball players. And it's a give and take relationship. They give to us and we want to give to them. We go into the community and we speak at religious organizations and in churches and at schools, elementary as well as high schools, to try to give back to the community what they give to us and the enthusiasm that they share with us throughout our season.
And you've joined in with them on this too?
Yes, I think it is our responsibility. We are a part of the community. We belong to the community and to the University of Texas, and it is our responsibility to pay back. I see these young women growing up and being tremendous role models for young people, and I'm always excited and a little bit surprised to see how many young people there are out there who want to grow up being Lady Longhorns, and that doesn't hurt at all. I share a story with you because it was one that touched me. I had a man come up to me in a restaurant not too long ago, and he said to me that he had just in the past season started to take his family to the Lady Longhorn games, and he had a little boy who was 5. And they went home after one game, and his little boy said, "Daddy, can I be a Lady Longhorn when I grow up?" Now, I think that's significant.
And I think that the role model that you have, particularly for women, and the image of the woman as an athlete is something which I sense that you've been rather intentional about that.
I think that also shows the uniqueness of Austin. This is a community where anyone can do whatever they want to do in the pursuit of excellence. And I think there was a generation out there well after my generation that wasn't willing to accept things as they were or because this is the way it had always been done. And when that group started to ask questions about doing things and fitting into niches, I think they said, if women want to participate in sports, why can't they? And thankfully the answer to that was, why not? And Austin was one of the first communities to embrace that. And I think there are people who support us not because they like basketball really or because they know or understand the game, but I think they're glad to see young women have an opportunity to do what they're able to do through sports. We've always valued certain qualities that we said sports develop in young men, and all of a sudden we've said, hey, it's okay for young women to possess those same qualities.
I also believe that the people who are watching, specifically the women who are watching us play, see maybe some of their dreams being carried out, not only as a participant in a sport, but a woman being able to do something that maybe 30 years she wasn't able to do. And it's not just the fact that we're playing basketball, but it's that we were fulfilling a dream that perhaps they had that they didn't get a chance to complete.
So that gives a future orientation to your work. You're looking at the upcoming generation, and you're not simply looking at it from the standpoint of those talented individuals that might wind up on the Lady Longhorns, but the whole feeling of realizing your potential and not letting arbitrary distinctions stand in the way. And we rejoice with you on that as a religious community. And because this is a program that is made possible through the Austin Area Conference of Churches, I'd like to come to another issue, and that is perhaps a more philosophical one, but just laced in between some of the things that we've been talking about. If we have some more tape that we'll have opportunity to see before the end of our program, we might be able to make reference to it specifically in terms of what makes for winning apart from the score.
What you saw there was something that's painful for me to watch. That was Clarissa Davis last season going up for a pass, coming down, twisting her knee, and serious injury that she got at that point in time. It involved reconstructive surgery, and it came at a time when our team was undefeated, and I really believe that that team had a real chance to win a national championship. And suddenly you lose a player, an impact player, maybe the best player in the country, with a season-ending injury. I think if that doesn't take faith, I don't know what does.
Let's talk about that faith. I saw it manifested in the fact you lost a couple of games right after that. But then the team began to come together again, and I felt it not only came close, but that it functioned perhaps even in a new kind of way. Was I reading more into it than
No,
you
you were being very astute. That's exactly right. That injury came and it put us all in shock. And we lost 2 straight games. We gave our best effort. We tried the best we could, but it hurt. And the pain was very real. And there were times when I felt as if there was no hope. I felt as if I had been a part of putting together a team that had the sky as a limit. And all of a sudden there was a limit there, and it was very real. But I think once we got over the shock, the competitive spirit kicked in all of us, and we said, hey, we're going to play out this season, and we're not bad. So let's see what we can do to regroup, restart, and give it our best shot. And what you saw was probably one of the most rewarding things that I experienced. People being better than they could be. People achieving more than we had a right to expect. You saw a player like a Beverly Williams, who had been a very unselfish player and always looking to give up the ball to someone else. And all of a sudden, I better score because my team needs for me to do that. So she changed her personality almost to accommodate the needs of the team. And that's a very good feeling to be a part of something like that. And I think it gets us right back to what we talked about. Everyone would like to be a part of a team. And everyone would like to have the strength and the faith that a team provides you with to accomplish things that were seemingly impossible.
I think that you played, as I recall, Fran, on a team that had for 2 preceding seasons come close but hadn't made it, and there was kind of a feeling that the Lady Longhorns were choking just right up at the end. And I judged that in '86 you had something to prove in that regard. And yet, think of it before that, as far as your remembrance of what it was to lose and not yet feel that you were a loser. Can you recall how that relationship both between the players and within yourself was evolving?
Well, when I reflect on the 1985-86 season and I reflect on the national championship game, I can only remember feeling relief as a result of having won that game. And I have to think of the two seasons before that and how it felt that a burden was off of our shoulders after we won, whereas most teams would have just been rejoicing at the fact that they won a national championship. When I think of the adversity and the obstacles that we had to overcome as a team in 1983, 84, 84, 85, it was tremendous faith. It was tremendous faith on my part in God. It was tremendous faith on my teammates' part in each other. We had to pull together and search ourselves and find out what it was that maybe we had done as individuals that perhaps caused us to lose. We had to search ourselves as teams to see if we couldn't better cover up the weaknesses that had shown in the 2 preceding years.
So that brought out the same capabilities that was being illustrated before, that you became something that you wouldn't have been otherwise.
Right. I became a stronger person. I became a better player as a result of those losses in 1984 and 1985. And I think every person on the team felt that way. We were determined that it was not going to happen again. And yes, we did have something to prove in '86. Prove that we were not the team that could have and should have won, but the team that could win and the team that would win. And it was a very good feeling and a very warm feeling to have done that and accomplished that with people that you care about and people that you've gone through so much with.
Right. Well, I'd like to affirm that whatever the score this season, that the Lady Longhorns are winners in every game in terms of that spirit that you have shown us. And I would like to thank you both for having been here.
Well, our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as we extend our thanks to Jody Conrad, the coach of the Lady Longhorns, and to Fran Harris, who's working with her now in the program, we also would like to thank you all for watching and helping gain this deeper appreciation of the way in which this cooperative spirit is so visibly expressed in our community. On behalf of the Austin Area Conference of Churches, I'm Richard Thompson, inviting you to be with us at this time next week as we continue our series, Austin Faith Dialogue. Good day. Hello, I'm Richard Thompson, pastor of Central Presbyterian Church, and your host for today's program.